The world is moved by the reason Roki came to the U.S.
Roki Sasaki, the Dodgers' young right-handed pitcher, overwhelms major league hitters with a fastball that reaches 100 miles per hour. One night, as he delivered a dominant pitching performance, something unusual happened in the American broadcast booth. The announcer, Joe Davis, suddenly stopped talking about the action on the field and began telling the story of the painful past Roki Sasaki had carried with him.
When Roki was in third grade, he's at school, it was a Friday afternoon, the wall started to shake, there's an earthquake.
What drew attention wasn't his velocity or the number of strikeouts, but the story of a 9-year-old boy who lost his hometown and family in the Great East Japan earthquake. Fans around the world who were learning this for the first time were left shocked and in tears, and their impression of him completely changed.
Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe.
Roki's tragic past.
In the 2024 offseason, 23-year-old Roki announced that he would pursue a career in Major League Baseball. However, he had not yet built up enough of a track record in Japan. Under the rules that apply to international players under the age of 25, he was unable to land a massive contract or leave his former team with a huge transfer fee. As a result, fierce criticism erupted in Japan, with people asking, why can't he wait another 2 years? Isn't it selfish to leave without having proven himself? And is he really going to turn his back on the team in Japan, the people who raised him? Amid all this, his agent, Joel Wolfe, said that to understand his decision, you have to know his life story. No one can convince him otherwise. He is steering his own ship. He doesn't take anything for granted. The tragedies he has experienced in his life have given him a different perspective on the world than we have. These words were the key to understanding why Roki chose now over a huge amount of money. Let's turn back the clock 15 years. On March 11, 2011, 9-year-old Roki experienced the Great East Japan earthquake at Takada Elementary School in Rikuzen, Takata City. After the powerful shaking, the children stood frozen in fear as they watched a horrifying scene approaching from the direction of the sea. Then, a man who was a friend of Roki's father came rushing in. Despite suffering a head injury in the earthquake and bleeding, the man desperately shouted, "It's dangerous! Run! Get out of here!" With the massive tsunami approaching behind him. He then pulled the children who had been unable to escape to higher ground, one by one. In the end, he also rescued Roki's older brother and barely managed to evacuate himself. Later, the man recalled that if he had arrived just 5 minutes later, he would not have survived. Without this man's desperate actions, the future of Roki, the pitcher now standing on a major league mound, might have been lost altogether. But the reality awaiting the boy who had survived was unbearably cruel. The next morning, he learned that his home had been completely swept away by the tsunami, and that his 37-year-old father, who had taught him the joy of baseball, as well as his grandparents, had lost their lives. With not enough water and no way to take a bath, life in the evacuation shelter was extremely difficult. There, 9-year-old Roki learned that everything he had taken for granted, eating a meal, taking a bath, playing baseball, was not something to be taken for granted. He has never tried to talk much about this experience. Later, even when a major American media outlet asked to interview him and delve deeper into his past, he reportedly, quietly, declined. He never used his own tragedy to draw attention, nor did he use his suffering as an excuse. That attitude, in turn, earned him deep respect from American fans and the media. His story came to be seen not as a tragedy that deserves sympathy, but as a story of the strength of a survivor. Amid life in an evacuation shelter where he had lost everything, the one thing the boy never let go of was baseball. Even in an environment where supplies were scarce, he kept playing catch. And whenever he was chasing a white baseball, he could forget the sadness and loneliness of losing his father. In America, some people came to describe his baseball as baseball becomes an escape, meaning that baseball became a place of refuge for him. And after rising from the place where he had lost everything and making his way to the biggest stage in the world, he eventually came to be called a beacon of hope. The player who once again inspired Roki as a young boy was Masahiro Tanaka of the Tohoku Rakuten Golden Eagles. In 2013, Tanaka carried the hopes and feelings of the people of Tohoku, who were still suffering from the earthquake, and led the Rakuten Eagles to their first Japan Series championship. Moved by Tanaka's journey, Roki honed his pitching by repeatedly imitating his pitching form. Eventually, he won a tournament featuring teams from the coastal areas of Iwate. The boy, who had continued to be saved by the game of baseball his father had taught him, was now using that same game to slowly carve out his own future. That's why, for him, who chose to pursue Major League Baseball at 23, the idea that if he waits another 2 years, he can get a much bigger contract was not as absolute as people around him might have thought. He knows that from what he experienced at 9 years old. There is no guarantee that the future 2 years from now will ever come. That the people you love, your home, and your everyday life can all disappear without warning. Even when people criticized him as selfish, he chose now over someday, even if it meant giving up a huge amount of money. Behind his 100-mile-per-hour fastball lies more than just talent. It is the determination of a boy who learned the harsh realities of life at just 9 years old, yet continued to hold on to baseball. Being able to eat a meal, being able to take a warm bath, being able to casually laugh with family, and being able to pursue the things you love. The everyday life we tend to take for granted is something we should never take for granted. That is why Roki continues to choose his own path, no matter how many times he is criticized. At the root of it all is the preciousness of the present moment, a lesson he learned only after losing so much. Every one of his 100-mile-per-hour pitches carries his father's love for baseball, memories of the hometown he lost, and his determination to live for today. The day Roki made his choice. Now, let's turn the clock back to Roki joining the Dodgers. He's being selfish despite having no track record. Is he really planning to turn his back on Japan? Roki Sasaki decided to pursue Major League Baseball at 23, and he faced harsh criticism like this. Why was he so determined to cross the ocean right away, even if it meant giving up a huge amount of money and his loyalty to his former team? His agent, Joel Wolfe, points to Roki's life story itself for the answer. Wolfe said that, for Roki, there are no guarantees in either baseball or life, and that you can never tell him, if you wait 2 years, you'll get a $300 million or $400 million contract. There's no guarantee that 2 years from now will ever come. Roki learned that firsthand in the spring of 2011, when he was just 9 years old. The Great East Japan earthquake took away his beloved father and grandparents, his home, and the everyday life of his hometown in a matter of moments. For someone who cannot blindly believe in words like someday or eventually, the people around him telling him to wait another 2 years carried a much heavier meaning than we can imagine. The decision that was mocked as selfish was not a choice that disregarded the future. Rather, it was a decision made by someone who knows that the future is not guaranteed, choosing to make the most of the now he has been given. But after crossing the ocean carrying so many misunderstandings on his shoulders, what awaited him was not the dreamlike success he had hoped for. In March 2025, Roki finally took the mound in the major leagues, but his first season in MLB was filled with one challenge after another. Across his 8 starts, he posted a 4.72 ERA. Before opposing hitters could even get to him, he struggled with his control, piling up walks and repeatedly getting himself into trouble. Then, in May, he suffered a right shoulder injury and was forced to miss an extended period of time. The young pitcher who was supposed to amaze the world, with a blazing fastball topping 100 miles per hour, couldn't even take the mound. Roki later revealed, "I even thought about the possibility that I might never fully recover, and that my career might end this way, or that I might never get back to performing at my best." Even so, he didn't run away from the challenge. For someone who had experienced a despair that turned his entire life upside down at just 9 years old, perhaps it was simply too soon to give up. After returning in the fall following a long rehabilitation, the role he was given was not as a starter, but as a reliever. He temporarily put aside his dream of being a starting pitcher and gave everything he had to pitching shorter innings for the sake of the team's victories. Then, in the 2025 postseason, he made 9 appearances, posting a 0.84 ERA and recording 3 saves. On the biggest stage, where a single mistake could decide the outcome, he came through for his team time and time again. He didn't waste a single second of the now he had fought to earn despite all the criticism. And there, in the glory of back-to-back World Series championships, stood the 9-year-old boy who had once lost everything. Against the Yankees on July 17th, he recorded a career-high 163.8 kilometers per hour after joining the Dodgers, and allowed no earned runs over 5 2/3 innings. Then, against the Mets, he went 7 innings and allowed 1 run while striking out 9. He recorded 21 swings and misses, overpowering a powerful lineup. The right-hander who had hit rock bottom was finally beginning to climb his way back up. An announcer said of Roki, "There will be successes and failures. But for someone who has overcome an experience like that, perhaps failure in baseball is a small thing." In the world of baseball, where we have seen talented players crushed by criticism and fade away time and time again, why is Roki able to get back up, no matter how many times he falls? Once you know the reason, you can no longer see him as just another baseball player. Even today, Roki is still called a treasure in his hometown of Rikuzen, Takata. Every winter, he returns to his hometown, quietly works on his training, and stands before the memorial bearing the name of his father, Kota. His father reportedly used to happily say, "Roki will become a professional someday." That dream has now come true on a stage even beyond what Roki himself could have imagined: Major League Baseball. What Roki Sasaki's way of life teaches us is not to fear the future, but to cherish the time we are given today. Even when he was mocked as selfish, criticized as a disappointment, or knocked down to rock bottom time and time again, he kept getting back up. That's because he knows the pain of loss and has made a commitment to never waste the now he has been given.
Thanks for watching all the way through. What did you think? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us as we continue to follow Shohei Ohtani's incredible journey. See you in the next one.